Verstappen and Red Bull's boycott of Sky Sports at the Mexican Grand Prix has had a chance to settle. We've read some of the most out there hot takes and conspiracy theories imaginable. We've also read some of the most abusive tweets and comments we have ever seen in the Formula One world, and that's saying something. But what have the Mercedes teams and fellow Sky reporters had to say about the situation? Let's find out. The 2022 Drivers and Constructors World Champions, Max Verstappen and Red Bull, announced they wouldn't be speaking to the Formula One broadcasters at the Mexico Grand Prix, after accusations Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes was robbed of the 2021 title. The 2021 championship was decided in the most controversial fashion imaginable, when Verstappen beat Hamilton to the checkered flag with an overtake on the final lap of the season. An investigation into the event later determined that human error was at fault for the race director Michael Massey's improper use of the safety car, which invited Verstappen back into the title bout when it appeared Hamilton had wrapped things up. The incredible scenes transfixed the world of sport, with the FIA later confirming Massey, who soon after departed the organisation, acted in good faith. The incident resurfaced at the US Grand Prix, when Sky Sports pit reporter Ted Kravitz was discussing Brad Pitt's Formula One movie that is in production, and began discussing a script scenario. Clearly referencing Verstappen and Hamilton's title fight, Kravitz discussed a 7-time world champion, I almost said 8-time world champion, meaning Hamilton, being robbed before coming back to battle with and beat the same guy, meaning Verstappen, who won the race that he was robbed in. There is plenty of context around this particular quote. Some of it makes it look worse, some of it makes it look better. You can go and have a watch of the episode of Ted's Notebook from the USA that caused all of this, and make your own opinion if you want. We're not going to tell you what to think about it. After seeing the clip which featured in Ted's Notebook, Red Bull and Verstappen made their decision to shut out one of the biggest players in the paddock. Their reasoning was that this incident was just one of many disrespectful comments, particularly from Ted Kravitz over the last couple of years. One point that may have stood out for the Red Bull team was Sky Sports' incredibly controversial decision to use footage from Max's 2021 crash at Silverstone for their Christmas greeting that year. The advert showed Max's Red Bull skipping across the gravel in slow motion, on its way to hit the tyre barrier at 160 miles per hour, before fading out to say Merry Christmas. The advert was rightly pulled after outcry from across the sporting world. British Sky Sports broadcasters have been accused of being biased towards Lewis Hamilton to a point of fault for many years now, but Red Bull and Verstappen decided that it had gone too far. Former driver and Sky F1 lead commentator Brundle has now had his say on the matter though. This is what Martin Brundle had to say. For the avoidance of doubt, my friend and colleague for the past 26 years, at Ted Kravitz, has my full support. The former teammate of Michael Schumacher tweeted, "Face-to-face dialogue is the only way to sort out issues and disputes in the relentless crucible of the F1 paddock. We all have opinions and different jobs to do. That's life." Martin has rather tactfully avoided making the same mistake as Ted with the tweet. He hasn't directly called out the Red Bull team in any way, implied or otherwise. While Brundle may have been in support of his old friend, Max's justification behind the boycott did raise a good question. Should the media covering Formula One have a responsibility to not fuel online hate? It had nothing to do with this weekend, but this year it's been a constant. Yeah, kind of like daily disrespectful, especially one particular person. And it's enough, I don't accept it, Verstappen said of Sky's coverage after the race in Mexico. You can't live in the past, you just have to move on. Social media is a very toxic place, and if you're constantly being like that on live TV, you make it only worse instead of trying to make it better. You keep disrespecting me, and at one point, I'm not tolerating it anymore. That's why I decided to stop answering them. Formula One social media has become increasingly toxic in recent years. As everyone always points out, it is only a minority of fans, but that doesn't make it any better for the people on the receiving end of the hate. Nicholas Latifi had to hire security for him and his family due to the number of death threats they were receiving after his crash in the 2021 season finale brought out the final safety car that allowed Max to catch Lewis and win the Drivers' Championship that year. The boycott rightly forced a big response from Sky. Christian Horner did confirm that the boycott would only be for one race, but Billy McGinty, the managing director of Sky Sports F1, will visit the Red Bull factory to clear the air. McGinty and Sky Sports managing director Jonathan Licht had already spoken to Red Bull's management, but apparently a face-to-face discussion will help to smooth over any remaining issues. It will be interesting to see if there is much of a change in how Sky Sports F1 broadcasters act in the coming races. The boycott will undoubtedly be completely ignored, but how they talk about the teams may show what Sky Sports' top brass made of the boycott. A turning down in the bias towards Lewis Hamilton will be a tell that words have been had internally about not favouring one team over another. Despite the gravity of a Formula One team boycotting a broadcaster, some people have been making a joke of the whole situation. Mercedes driver George Russell couldn't resist a cheeky joke about the boycott when speaking to Sky F1's David Croft at the launch party for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. You might ask, why was there a launch party when the race won't be held until the 17th of November 2023? And honestly, we have absolutely no idea either, but it did happen. Red Bull's Sergio Perez was joined on stage by Lewis Hamilton and George Russell for a live interview in front of the fans by Sky Sports' David Croft, or Crofty as many of you know him. As Crofty went to ask Perez his first question, George Russell interrupted by saying, "So, are you allowed to ask Red Bull drivers questions, Crofty?" "Yes," was Crofty's reply. "I am tonight. I've got special permission tonight, so don't start on me." Crofty then asked Perez, "Are you allowed to answer?" Perez said, "They," meaning his Red Bull team, "are not here." It was at the limits of cheeky by George, and we're sure Crofty didn't appreciate the jibe either. This was meant to be a launch party for what may be one of Formula One's biggest races in the future. The joke about the broadcasting boycott will not have gone down well with Formula One management or Sky Sports, you would imagine. It might surprise you to know that Max Verstappen isn't the first driver to choose not to talk to Sky Sports on race weekends. Martin Brundle recently opened up about his grid walks and how he interacts with the drivers, particularly Lewis Hamilton. A few of them will just shake their head and then even apologise later on. Or just come up to me in the paddock and go, "You haven't seen me on the grid for ages, just come and talk to me on the grid." And then others will never talk. Lewis Hamilton used to talk to me a lot and then stopped, so we take it as it comes. Whatever your opinion on Max Verstappen, Red Bull and their boycott of Sky Sports, hopefully you can see the deeper story here. Social media is not a place to go and abuse people. Just because there's no recourse for doing it does not make it acceptable. The English language Sky Sports is broadcast around the world, reaching millions of people every race weekend. What they say has an impact on the overall view of the fan base. Sky Sports should have a responsibility to not fuel the hatred on social media, even if it is with anecdotal comments such as Ted's. Did he mean what he said? We don't know, but it doesn't matter. Broadcasters don't need to be impartial, but you can have favourites without slandering other teams. It's an old saying that if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. You don't have to hold yourself to that, but the morals of the saying are important. What you say on social media has an impact on who you're saying it about. So think next time you go to tweet about a driver. They're humans too. Let us know your opinion on the boycott in the comments below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.